Hello everyone, and welcome to my update US gossip channel. Ronnie had never seen Drew look so tired. His shoulders sagged under the weight of too many battles, war wounds, business betrayals, and a gnawing loneliness that success couldn't erase. That afternoon, the golden light through the Quartermain mansion windows seemed cruelly bright, casting sharp reflections across Monica's framed photos on the mantel. Ronnie had come intending to talk about something simple, a memory, a kindness, but the minute he saw Drew standing there, lost in thought, he knew this was the moment to tell the story he had held back for years. "Drew," Ronnie said quietly, his voice thick with emotion, "I don't think you ever knew what Monica did for you when everyone else thought you were gone." Drew turned, his eyes clouded with confusion. "What do you mean?" "Monica was kind to me, sure, but," Ronnie shook his head. "No, not kind. Not just that. She fought for you when there was nothing left to fight for." The word stopped Drew mid-sentence. Ronnie's tone carried a gravity that forced him to sit down, as if bracing himself for a truth that might unravel him. Ronnie's memory took him back to the night the hospital staff whispered about Drew's plane crash, when everyone believed he was lost for good. "You weren't there to see her, Drew," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "She was standing right outside the ER, still in her lab coat, covered in someone else's blood from another emergency, and she refused to go home. 4 hours. She kept saying, 'He's my son too. He's a Quartermain, and I'm not giving up on him.'" Drew's breath hitched. "She said that?" he asked softly. Ronnie nodded. "Over and over. The other doctors thought she was in shock, but it wasn't shock. It was love, the kind that doesn't need proof or DNA or even hope. She sat in that corridor till sunrise, Drew. She wouldn't leave, even when Alan's picture fell off the wall beside her. She just picked it up and whispered, 'You'd tell me to keep believing, wouldn't you?'" As Ronnie spoke, the image grew clearer in Drew's mind, Monica's steady hands trembling for the first time, her white coat stained and crumpled, her eyes rimmed red but full of unyielding resolve. The kind of love that isn't loud but endures like a heartbeat you never hear until it's threatened. Drew swallowed hard, the lump in his throat making it impossible to speak. Ronnie continued, his own voice breaking under the weight of memory. "There was one moment, around 3 in the morning, he said, when a nurse tried to take her home, said she needed rest. But Monica told her, 'If he's still out there, he'll need someone to come back to. And I'll be here. I'll always be here.'" Drew's hands clenched into fists, his eyes glistening. "I never knew, she never told me any of that," he murmured. "She wouldn't," Ronnie replied. "She's not the kind to boast about love. She shows it quietly, in the way she sets an extra place at the table, or keeps your old files in her desk drawer even when the hospital says to archive them. That's who she is." The silence between them thickened, heavy with grief and gratitude. Drew stared at the family portraits, Alan's smiling face, Jason's piercing eyes, Monica's calm, kind expression, and for the first time, he felt the full force of what it meant to belong to this complicated, broken family. "When I came back," he said hoarsely, "I thought she was just being polite. I didn't know she'd waited like that." Ronnie smiled sadly. "You weren't just another lost soldier to her, Drew. You were a piece of her heart she refused to bury. Even when people said you'd never be found, she'd keep lighting candles in the chapel. Every night. I saw her do it." Drew turned away, wiping at his eyes roughly, trying to hide the tears that betrayed years of restraint. But the more Ronnie spoke, the more the dam broke. "She even kept your old coffee mug," Ronnie added softly. "The one with the chipped rim and the Quartermain crest half faded. She said she couldn't bring herself to throw it out. Said it reminded her that even broken things could come home." Drew let out a choked laugh that dissolved into a sob. The rawness of the moment stripped away all pretense. He wasn't the decorated veteran, or the CEO, or the stoic Quartermain heir anymore. He was just a man who'd finally learned the truth about a mother's silent devotion. "She lost so much," Drew whispered. "Alan, Jason, and still she had room to love me." Ronnie nodded, eyes glistening. "That's the thing about Monica. She never lets grief harden her. It just deepens her. He paused, letting the words sink in. She once told me something I'll never forget. She said, "You don't stop being a mother just because your children are gone. You just keep loving them wherever they are." That line shattered Drew completely. He pressed a hand over his face, and his shoulders began to shake. Tears streamed freely now, tears that had been waiting years for permission to fall. Ronnie sat beside him, the quiet of the mansion punctuated only by the tick of the grandfather clock and Drew's uneven breaths. "You know," Ronnie said softly, "when you finally came back, I think she was afraid to believe it. Not because she didn't want to, but because hope had cost her so much already. The first time she saw you standing there, she told me later, she thought you were a dream she couldn't touch." Drew gave a trembling laugh through the tears. "She hugged me so tight I could hardly breathe," he said. "Now I know why." Ronnie leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "She said afterward, 'He's home. Alan, he's home.' Like she was telling him in heaven." Drew's gaze drifted toward the photo of his father on the mantel. "I wish I could have seen that," he whispered. "You don't have to," Ronnie said gently. "You can feel it. Every time you walk into this house, every time she looks at you like she's memorizing your face, that's the same love that kept her waiting when the world told her not to." For a long time, neither man spoke. Drew's grief wasn't sharp, it was deep, tidal, something that flooded through him in waves of gratitude and regret. He realized he'd spent so long trying to prove himself worthy of the Quartermain name that he'd overlooked the quiet, steadfast woman who had already accepted him long before he ever asked for it. Ronnie's story had peeled back the layers of pride and pain, revealing something sacred underneath. "You know, Drew," Ronnie finally said, breaking the silence, "people think strength means never breaking. But Monica, she breaks, and then she builds herself back up every time. That's real strength. She taught me that, and I think she taught you too, even if you didn't notice." Drew nodded slowly. "She did," he said. "She just never said it out loud." Ronnie smiled faintly. "She didn't need to." As the sun dipped lower, the room filled with the soft orange glow of evening. Drew rose and walked to the window, his reflection merging with the framed photos around him. "You know what hurts the most," he said after a while. "That I can't go back and thank her for all of it. For believing when no one else did." Ronnie placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You don't need to say the words, Drew. She already knows. But, you can show her. Be the man she waited for. The one she prayed would come home." That suggestion lingered like a benediction. Drew nodded, his tears drying but leaving behind a trace of humility that softened his face. "I will," he said quietly. "For her." Ronnie smiled. "That's all she's ever wanted." When Ronnie left that night, Drew stayed behind in the living room. He poured himself a glass of scotch and sat in the silence, listening to the echoes of Monica's laughter in the halls, remembering her gentle scolding when he skipped breakfast, her proud smile when he took the lead at ELQ, her calm presence that grounded everyone even when the world was falling apart. He finally understood that Monica's love had never been loud because it didn't need to be. It was written in every small act of care, every time she showed up when she didn't have to. The tears came again, quiet, uncontrollable, cleansing. They weren't just tears of sorrow but of recognition. Ronnie's story had given him a gift he didn't know he needed, the truth about how deeply he was loved. And as he sat there, the last light fading from the window, Drew whispered into the stillness, "Thank you, Monica, for not giving up on me." Upstairs, the house creaked softly, as if in response. And somewhere in that still, sacred quiet, Drew felt her presence, steady, forgiving, and proud. For the first time in years, he didn't feel lost. He felt home.